So we're at the end of our time in Valencia. I am very sad.
Me too. But in this episode, we're going to share some of the reasons you might want to seriously consider living in Valencia.
I think when I describe our time in Valencia to people, the word that keeps coming up over and over is it's easy here.
It is easy. It's effortless to get around. It's effortless to communicate with people. It's affordable. It's beautiful. The weather is wonderful. And the food is fantastic.
Yeah. We have easy access to shopping, food, and clothing. Great clothing. And it's very similar to shopping, just even things like grocery stores, shopping in the States, which for me was kind of a deal in Lisbon. And I sound like an ugly expat when I say that, but it's easier for us to find the things that we're used to here.
And the produce is so fresh because, as we recently had it pointed out, they grow it here. So in Lisbon, they have to ship everything in. So of course the prices are going to be higher. That's not their fault. But here it's very, very fresh and very affordable. And it really makes it so you're relaxed about that too. And the physical beauty of Valencia, from the center of town all the way out to the beaches, is really beautiful. Like, the streets look like they're palace floors. They have amazing parks that are so well manicured. Everything is clean. The streets are very wide too, so you never feel cramped. You don't feel like you're being closed in on. Now, maybe in some of the really old parts of the city, it can start feeling that way, but they always seemed to have gone out of their way to open up the space when they could, let nature have its moment, let trees have their moments, and they tree-lined streets. It's just a wonderful place to look around, just visually,
One of the things that's so notable for me is their commitment to green spaces throughout the entire city. So, as we mentioned before, there's the Jardín de Turia, which is a huge park that runs the length of downtown Valencia. But beyond that, almost at every turn, there are these big open spaces, and even on the main avenues, the center of these big wide streets is a green-lined pathways where bikes and people can walk, and it's just, you feel like it's an oasis in the middle of a bustling city.
One thing that's very noticeable about Spain versus America is that when they have space like this, open space, in America, you would always look at that as some form of revenue source. You would figure out something that you would want to put there. You'd build something there, you pay for parking there or whatever. And here they just allow space for joy, for people to be there, to be near nature, to be in open space, to be able to talk with each other and sit on benches if you want to. It's a real shift in consciousness, the way they think about that. And it's so nice to be around that for a while.
I think that's why Valencia was voted the greenest city in Europe for 2024, which is well deserved in my opinion.
And that consciousness carries all the way out to the water. I mean, the beaches here have a lot of wide open space. We just saw yesterday, we were taking a walk, and they had something like, what was it?
30 beach volleyball stations, whatever you call them.
Beautiful. Like they're built right in, and the beaches are so wide and so long, and the sand is so beautiful.
And so clean.
And it's not overrun with stands to try to sell you things. It's just really beautiful. So that consciousness goes all the way to the shore here and all the way down north and south.
Speaking of architecture and the beauty of Valencia, the architecture is stunning. There's some newer buildings that maybe are less stunning, but a lot of the older buildings just will blow your mind. And we're staying in an apartment that was built a long time ago. And the benefits, been renovated obviously, but one of the benefits of an older building that we've discovered while we're here is the walls are about this thick and the floors are about this thick, and you cannot hear a thing. And even though we're on a busy street, unless we have our French doors open, which we do a lot, but when we close those doors, it's so quiet in here, and our bedrooms are away from the front anyway. So just very, very quiet and peaceful. Now, I have heard from people that in some of the newer construction, that's not the case. And it's probably more similar to our experience in Lisbon.
And to be fair, probably our experiences in America. I mean, when you build something fast and cheap and down and dirty, it's not gonna be quiet. I mean, it's not gonna be built really well to last a long time.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a real plus being in this apartment, because we can actually do these kind of recordings. We can work quietly. We meditate here, and honestly, no matter what's happening out there, this is quiet. And if we decide to come here and stay here for any length of time, the first thing we're going to do is look for buildings that are on the older side.
Okay.
Now, the downside of that is they almost never have elevators. And so you do end up lugging your stuff upstairs. And for some reason, we're on like, what, the fourth floor? Fifth?
Yeah.
For some reason, the last floor is so hard here. And I don't know what it is, but when we were in Lisbon, we were walking so many hills that we were just built for hill walking. Here, everything's very flat, so we really notice these stairs. But elevators would be nice, and they are rare in old buildings.
They definitely are, but I would take it anyway
Yeah.
because it's so wonderful. Yeah. So speaking of that, we have started looking around at rentals and things to buy, but I think initially for us, we're looking at rentals.
Yeah.
For example, there are two areas we're seriously looking at. Cabanyal, where we are right now, which is 15 minutes from the beach. We're at the port. It's very, very up and coming. A lot of remodeling going on, reconstruction going on, access to an El Corte Inglés 15 minutes away.
And there's great restaurants here, like even
Fabulous
great places. We found some real gems here.
Fabulous restaurants and great grocery store across the street. So Cabanyal it's about 20 minutes outside of downtown. You know, we can hop a bus in front of our door and be down there in 20, 25 minutes. So
€50.
€50, yeah. So it's been, so Cabanyal, has a lot going for it, I think. And then the other thing we're really looking at is Russafa, which is in downtown Valencia. It's where all the expats are. It's considered the trendy, hip part of Valencia, and for good reason. It's very cool. A lot of great restaurants, a lot of great music.
But this place has tax issues you have to be aware of.
Yeah, that's something we're trying to get to the bottom of right now. Unfortunately, we've consulted with a number of advisors and quite a number of expats, and across the board, we have not heard one thing that was consistent.
Yeah.
We had wildly divergent information. So we're looking for a good tax advisor to give us some guidance on.
The worst case scenario, they could tax your entire net worth.
Yeah.
So this is nothing to be taken lightly. You really have to figure this out. And as Cheryl said, it's really hard to get a straight answer.
Yeah. So it's something we're working on right now because it's obviously a huge consideration. But other than that, I just really haven't found any downsides. We love it. The people have been welcoming and warm, and they have everybody we met has been really embracing the expat community here. I think probably when you get into trying to infiltrate, if you will, society here, that's probably a different deal. And obviously, unless you speak fluent Spanish, which we super don't.
No, and if you flip the cars and figure that if you had your friend group in America and all of a sudden you brought someone over and said, hey, let's have these people hang out with us, they don't speak any English. I mean, that would be a very awkward night and a lot of hard work. So, it's really fine that maybe that is not the time to do that yet. But what we found is the people we have communicated with have been super nice and very welcoming.
Yeah.
Another thing that's wonderful about Valencia, more than anywhere else that I've been to recently anyway, is that it is a very musical city. They honor music. There are concerts all the time. There are jazz clubs literally all over the place. And the quality of the music is wonderful. Like, the jazz is not, just lame jazz. It's actually really good. Now, there is a Berklee School of Music branch here, which may have something to do with it. But even when you go into like a clothing store, the quality of the music they're playing is so much better than normal. The whole city is very musically conscious.
So as great as Valencia is, we also wanted to check out the outlying areas because we've heard incredible things. The mountains are really something. And also, obviously, the southern Spain shoreline as well. So we've done a couple of trips. We did a weekend at a spa called Balneario de Archena, which is in the Murcia region. Really incredible resort town.
And it wasn't brand new. In fact, this spa is 2,500 years old. So this was a spa for the Romans, and they've actually kept it active since then. So, which is crazy. I mean, obviously they've
upgraded
it. The hotels are, not just stones, but it's really beautiful. And the hot springs are very hot, and the steam rooms, they don't need any equipment to have it become a steam room. It just drops, the water just drips onto these stones and deposits minerals, and it steams the room, and it's amazing. And they made pools all over the resort. There's 3 or 4 hotels on the resort, and there's a lot of people that come to this. It's very well known amongst certain areas of Spain, but honestly, here in Valencia, most people didn't even know about this. And they don't speak any English, so it wasn't super friendly about trying to communicate with us. We tried very hard to speak Spanish to everybody, but it worked, I'm sure, irritating to them.
Yeah, but they also have a thick accent, a Murcian accent, which made it even more challenging for us to understand. But overall, people were quite lovely. We stuck out like sore thumb because almost everybody there, and I think really maybe everybody there, was actually Spanish, and then there was us. But an incredible experience. Highly recommend.
It was a find.
Yeah.
It was a real find. And again, very affordable.
Yeah.
And there was a town right next to it, about 15-minute walk away, where basically all the restaurants are that are not in the hotels. And we found a gem of a restaurant.
It's called A Tempo. It's only open on weekends, and it's run by Paquito and his chef wife, Monica. And the food was on par with any of the best restaurants we've been to here in Valencia, and actually, dare I say, in Spain, and that includes some Michelin restaurants.
Yeah, it was really that good. And the owner, when we first walked in, he was also waiting tables, and he was not really chummy at first, but then as we sat there and we started speaking with him, we got him to tell us his story, which is the whole beauty of traveling, is you can start to get to know people's lives a little bit. And his story was so fascinating. His parents had bought this house and made a restaurant out of it for years, but his parents worked all the time. And so when he inherited this restaurant from his parents, he decided to do things differently. And so he decided to only have the restaurant open on the weekends and to change the menu completely. And during the week, he's a consultant for other waiters around Europe. And then his wife decided to go to cooking school and became this amazing chef. And so they have carved out this life where he does his consulting during the week. They have this restaurant only open on a couple days on the weekend where they work with their kids. And then he and his wife have a passion for motorcycles. And so they have a collection of motorcycles and they ride all the time. And they just carved out this really wonderful life, which is honestly perfect closer to happy story.
Yeah.
But we didn't really have anything with us to actually shoot it because it would have been fascinating.
Too bad. It's too
Next
bad.
time we go there, we should.
They were an inspiration for sure.
They were.
Another place that we went was Montenego. So we did a day trip to Montenego, which was fabulous. We went with some other, a lovely group of people that we met. Most of them were from the States.
Yeah.
Incredibly stunning mountain landscapes. We went to these, it's billed as thermal hot spring.
Which may imply to some that the water's warm,
You'd think.
But thermal, and our guide actually looked this up on Wikipedia during lunch because he was like, yeah, I know it's not really warm, but if you look up thermal, it means that, what did he say? It was like some
there's a technical out here, but let me tell you that the water was not warm. So we went to these waterfalls that were absolutely incredible. ice cold, but we got in the water anyway, and we did it anyway. I think if he had told us up front how cold it was, we wouldn't have gotten it in.
He didn't even tell us until we got to the waterfall.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of surprises that day, but it was totally worth it. And, kudos to him for tricking us into jumping into freezing cold water.
And then we went up to Montenego, where there are the thermal springs, and I left out the word hot. They were less cold, which I think is good. The water is crystal clear, unbelievable. So you're swimming in this absolutely crystal clear green, blue, aqua water, and swimming out into caves, and really like a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
This water supposedly have a lot of healing properties.
Felt like it.
Yeah, it did feel like it. And a lot of people for years and years have gone there just to kind of heal themselves from diseases and things like that. And and there was barely anyone there for some reason, because the weather wasn't perfect. But it made it really accessible, because I had heard that oftentimes it's very full.
Yeah, it was not. It was really nice.
And our tour guide. Our tour guide named Q, K-I-U. It turns out, was a super nice guy, by the way, but it turns out he, as well as everyone else in Valencia, is a musician. And he is a jazz singer. And it turns out he's a really good jazz singer. And we went and heard him at a gig a few days ago. And I'll put a moment of him singing in the video.
Sweet in the air, she will say everything when I'm there.
Just another random thing that we ran into along the way that gave such a rich texture to what we were doing.
Much like Charlie.
We have a next door neighbor that came in for 1 week from the UK. He had just gotten done a DJ gig. Now, when you hear that, you probably think of some like 30-year-old. No. He's like our age, but he's a DJ, and he uses only vinyl, and his vinyl are like obscure jazz records, which is
jazz and like R&B.
Jazz and R&B, right. And so we brought them, when they first got here, to this bar that we really like down the street, our neighborhood bar, if you will. And they happened to say, hey, we're going to have an open mic DJ night on Thursday night. And so I went up and I said, this guy's a DJ. Can he come in and do this? They had not done it before. Charlie was really pumped up. And then, so we came back on that Thursday night, and Charlie DJ'd, and long story short, it was a hit.
Brought the house down.
Everyone loved it. And it was such a wonderful moment for him and for his family, and honestly, and for us. Yeah, and the bar said, we had never done this before. This is the first time, and wow, I can't believe how great this was. So it really set the whole tone for them to have these open mics now for DJs. It was really cool. It was just one of those moments.
Magic moment. So overall, really, we have loved so much about Spain. We are going to continue to explore the neighborhoods that we might want to be in. And other than that, just, we're going to go back to Lisbon. We're going to take another look, see how we feel about it, and then hopefully make a decision. But yay, Valencia.
Yeah, highly recommended. All right.
Okay. Ciao.